see the PowerPoint? Do you need to be the host?
Yes.
So, Eleni, could you please?
How can I do that? And
so you click on ANCA and you'll see 3 bullets on the right, and then you make her a co-host.
Right.
On her picture,
Okay.
on her photo.
No.
No. Do you see the 3?
Yeah, done.
Great.
Thank you. Right away.
Well, technology can be positive if we manage how to do it.
Just 1 second, please. Okay. Can you see the paper? Can you see the presentation?
No, you have to share screen first, and then now it's working, I think. Let's see.
Yeah, yes, I think it's okay now, right? Yeah. Can you see it?
It will take another minute. Oh, here it is.
Yeah, here it is.
Okay, thank you. First of all, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the presentation. I'm very glad to take part of this conference. I'd like to congratulate the organizers for having made it possible, especially in these tough times. And I'm glad to be with you today and talk about rebirth and eternity. I think that first of all, I have to say that I made a promise in my abstract to maintain a musical background. So I chose something like a piano music, and I will try to switch it on just in the moment when the paintings will be displayed on the screen. So in the meantime, I will try to present my ideas. Some of them I will try to be short. I think that one of the best ways to approach these themes, the rebirth and the eternity, is by looking through Ovid's eyes. The Roman poet, who was one of the most gifted and prolific ones, has remained in the cultural tradition as the author of Metamorphoses, an epic poem which contains 250 narratives disposed in 15 books. And these narratives deal with mythological subjects, but the main theme, which brings them all together, is the rebirth, the metamorphosis, that new dimension that one body receives after passing away. From a symbological point of view, this approach shows that all things in nature are subject to transformation and and that absolutely nothing vanishes completely or for good. Referring to just one of the writers who approached, let's say, the way in which Ovid wrote was Italo Calvino. In one of his essays called In Distinti Confini, talks about this idea of dealing with metamorphic myths that Ovid embraces with so much dedication. He says that this tendency or this choice is in some way linked to the fantastic character or the utopic character of the myth, which gives Ovid the permission to go in another world, to go to invade in another space and see the world, the things differently from what they are. This is the paragraph that I took from this essay, but the translation is here. Referring to his long poem, Ovid said that this was a perpetuum carmen. That reveals that between the form of the poem and the message of the poem, there is a tight link. The poem carries us softly through the themes that we mentioned at the beginning, not insisting on death, which I think that tends to go almost unnoticed through the poem, but insisting on rebirth. And I think that Ovid's greatest strength is that he makes the reader believe that the first transformation is just one step on a long series of transformations, even if these later ones are not indicated in the poem. And thus he creates in the reader the idea of perpetual becoming and of eternity. Ovid is influenced by the Alexandrian poetry, that literary production composed from the death of Alexander the Great and the Roman occupation of Greece. And Ovid takes over the theme of love, the theme of nature, and the theme of gain, and the way they are illustrated in the Alexandrian poetry, but offering them a very high sensistic potential. The original element in Ovid is the way he attaches to them the theme of perpetual becoming and of rebirth. Ovid lives in Augustus' epoch, and mainly in that period known as the Pax Augusta, Pax Romana, which is characterized as prosperous, stable, peaceful, under all aspects of political and social life. And a period which begins right at the end of the civil war between Antony and Octavian. And I think that Ovid's choice to introduce the theme of rebirth and regeneration is not accidental at all, but it is a way to mark a new vision on human existence in the conditions of liberation from the suffering caused by the recently finished war. Today I'm going to talk about two myths that I have chosen for my intervention, the myth of Phaeton and that of Narcissus. Phaeton, as we all know, is the son of Helios, the sun god, of the god sun, and Clymene. Ovid illustrates in the second book of the Metamorphoses, illustrates him as a teenager who looks for his identity. He's eager to know whether he really is the son of the god, because his friends do not believe him and deny his supernatural origins. Genitor. As you can see, he tries to find out the truth from his own father. And this is the point when Phaeton goes straight to the sun god and asks him to tell the truth. In order to calm him down and to confirm their blood relationship, Helios says to Phaeton that he will accomplish whatever wish he has. Whatever you want, I will give it to you. Immediately after follows Phaeton's wish which is namely to steer the chariot, to drive the chariot and pull out the sun in the sky the day after, which in fact was Helios' every morning's duty. And his father gives him some advice, but we will see that Phaeton does not follow his advice. He neglects it, rushes to the kingdom, takes the horses and the chariot, and he will soon lose control of the chariot, given his immaturity and experience. Ovid illustrates the feelings, Phaeton's feelings, fear, paventem juvenem, ipse pavet, and impatience and desire, premi flagrative cupidine furus. Well, he hits the earth with the chariot and destroys some regions by burning them. And this conduct makes Zeus very angry. He strikes the boy down with the thunder, and Phaeton falls in the Eridanus river and dies. Phaeton's sisters cry on his death and mourn him until their sufferance transforms them into trees and their tears into ember. So this scene is interesting for the fact that it is not Phaeton whom we were expecting to be transformed, but it is his sisters who, crying over his corpse, are transformed into poplars. Their suffering is here, in some ways, is so strongly associated with death that they cry until they become something else, and they turn into trees. I will I chose for this first myth some paintings. First of all, I chose Rubens with the Fall of Phaeton. And the other one immediately after Luca Giordano. I will return to the first one right now. I chose these together because I found very many similarities between them. Both Rubens and Luca Giordano insist on the fall of Phaeton, and the representations are dynamic. As you can see, are slightly colored, and the forms are slightly blurred, so that they create tension. With Rubens, the dramatism of the scene is reflected through the contortion of the horses, and which create an emotional effect. One can hardly see where Phaeton is. I think that he is here in the right center of the painting. So the main character is not emphasized. He doesn't appear in the center. He's somehow left aside. And the question should be here, why the horses instead? Maybe because horses are the symbol of physical strength and quickness. And this is a way to create an effect very spread in the Baroque painting, which required movement and drama. And another technique used here is contrapposto, with reference to the opposite directions in which the bodies appear. With Luca Giordano, we place ourselves in the same atmosphere, as you can see, and with Santi di Tito, we are in the so-called proto-Baroque. In this painting, there's still a tendency for the well-shaped form, and we don't encounter the blur effects. In the center of the paintings, we can see the Heliades, Phaeton's sisters. We don't see the Phaeton. We see the women portrayed exactly in the moment of their transformation. They don't want to be seen and cover their faces. And I think the most striking one is the one who stands showing her back, obviously transfigurated by the pain that she feels. The point here is that they are not prepared for what's happening, and caught by surprise, they cover their eyes, maybe feeling in some way ashamed or awkward. There are some other characters too, but we don't know who they are. Maybe they are influenced by the Renaissance taste for stout and plump bodies. So while Rubens and Giordano express their taste for the fall of Phaeton, here with Santi di Tito we see that he insists on another aspect of the myth. He chooses something else. But with Buonarroti, we have a drawing in code which surprises both the moments, the fall and the transformation of Heliades in trees. The other myth that I took in consideration is Narcissus, presented in the third book of Metamorphoses. As we all know, Narcissus is a boy in love with himself. One day, as Ovid says, he walks in the woods and meets Echo, a mountain nymph, who falls in love with him. She approaches him and almost reveals her feelings, but he avoids her, and she, heartbroken, leaves him alone. This Nemesis, who was the goddess of revenge, discovers the plot and tries to punish Narcissus, lures him to a pool, and where he leans upon in order to see and contemplate his face. He falls and makes him fall in love with him to such an extent that he does not realize that he loses his mind. And his helplessness, his incapacity of establishing a real contact with the one he falls in love with, leads him to death. He is transformed, as Ovid says, he's transformed in yellow flowers. His vanity and pride is in many ways expressed by Ovid, but I chose the shortest expression, tam dura superbia forma, while the rebirth is expressed in these words, crocem pro corpore florem invenum foliis medium cingentibus albis. For today, I preferred Caravaggio and his oil on canvas, which is represented here. As we know, the artists of the Renaissance, as Caravaggio, are very eager to point to paint subjects taken from the mythological, from the classical mythology. And in Caravaggio, we can see the tenebrism, this technique which produces the contrast of light and dark, and the consequent dramatic effect. The image of Narcissus, who reflects his face in the water while falling in love with himself, is simple and does not has additional elements. So Caravaggio retains that this moment is the most suggestive scene by itself. It is very simple. This painting is very simple in terms of colors, because we can see that it is the painter uses only black and white and a little green and brown. However, we have more detailed painting with Waterhouse, John William Waterhouse, who chooses to depict the whole scene, comprising the both Narcissus and Echo, and with particular interest on Narcissus, as you can see, who neglects Echo and gives attention to himself. Waterhouse was a group of he belonged to the pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood, was a group of English people who offered very much attention to the details, to the light, and to the pastel colors, but also to the balance of elements. Here we can notice that the elements are not dynamic, and this gives us the impression of stillness. And a major attention is offered to the landscape, the nature, and the surroundings. One can see the trees and also the river flowing, and the flowers, the ones in which Narcissus will transform himself. Echo is portrayed, is profile portrait, excuse me, looking at Narcissus while he's absorbed in his contemplation. And the relations between the characters and nature are vivid, because she touches the tree while he touches the ground. So,
excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt, but with 3-4 minutes, please.
Yes, thank you. So while Caravaggio does not insist on Narcissus' transformation, here with Waterhouse, we can see that the transformation makes part now of the scene which was chosen to be presented. As a conclusion, literature and art are interconnected, and art takes from literature exactly that amount of information that is retained useful and suggestive for the message to be delivered. And I think that it is clear that all the artists that were taken into account are in some ways, of course, influenced by the cultural traditions they live in and by the tendencies that they embrace. But beyond all these, it's their originality which makes the difference. And I will finish right away. The fact that the artists did not paint death, but life or life after death. As we could see, Rubens and Giordano painted the pole, but not the corpse of Phaeton. And Caravaggio portrays Narcissus. Waterhouse portrays Narcissus contemplating himself and the flowers. I think that this vision should enlighten us in these moments and gives us the optimism needed to overcome the difficulties that sign our times. And thank you. I think that thank you for your attention. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for leaving us with this hopeful thought.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you could just close the presentation, then we can see each other. Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So any questions, comments, thoughts, wishes? Yes, please, Lily.
Thank you very much. I was looking at Caravaggio's image that when we look at his interpretation of Narcissus, because the boy is laying down with his hands, maybe you can show us the image again. We can see that he creates an enclosed sort of architecture.
Mm-hmm.
The physical body, well, it's a painting, but the body and the reflection becomes like an enclosed area, which is very interesting to me to hear your thoughts about it. If you connect it to the question of identity, do you see a connection there, or?
Yes, thank you for the question. You refer to Caravaggio's painting, right? Yeah. And to his reflection, yes, which is very detailed and very well painted. Yes, of course, there must be a link, of course, because this reflection is practically, how to say, is a way to discover oneself, no? If we go beyond, is a way to discover oneself, this reflection. If we go beyond the physical body, we can read more than that. So maybe Narcissus, beyond, of course, beyond the falling in love with his physical appearance, maybe is in search of himself. And this idea that you expressed of an architectural image is very appealing to me. It's very interesting because in some ways the borders of our personality are the borders of our body. So in some ways there's a perfect, I would say, a perfect construction, of the perfect link between how we do and what we are, in fact. So the modern studies, the modern social studies give much importance to this link. I think there is there is maybe more to learn from this, and more to go deeper and deeper and find out what are the connections between these two parts. So thank you, because you opened me a road, and I think it's very interesting to search for more information about it. I like Caravaggio very much. He's one of my favorite Italian painters and my favorite painters in general. So yes, thank you very much.
Any more questions or comments?
A question, if
Yes,
I may.
Helene.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
really enjoyed your paper. Right, I want to ask you this. Both the Narcissus and the Phaeton story are highly visual, which actually lend itself
Yes.
to all of these wonderful paintings that you showed us
Yes.
today. And what I want to ask you is, do you think that Ovid himself could have been inspired by paintings that preceded he writing the Metamorphoses, and so that we have like a link of
Of
art
course.
inspiring
Of course.
art and giving birth again to art? What do you
Yes.
think?
Yes, of course. It is quite impossible not to take in consideration other influences taken from other colleagues, of course. But I think that what is the important part is, and what I was trying to drag out of these paintings, was the moment on which these painters choose to focus the moment, because I find it interesting that none of them chose the death, and it is life before death or life after death. So this is what struck me, and but of course, as you could see between Rubens and Giordano, the links are very the characters, the similarities are breathtaking, are almost the same. You could say that it is almost the same picture. So of course they influence themselves, especially when they live in the same cultural space and adhere to the same tendencies. So absolutely yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank you
very
again,
much.
Anka, for this presentation.
Thank
And
you.
I think we'll move on to our third and final speaker for today. And we'll cross over back to Athens, and we'll move from Rome and Ovid back to classical Greece. And